So this is exercise 8, the Power BI exercises. Now the first thing we're going to do is the employee pay cycle. Now the employee pay cycle, this is really just to get you started. You're going to need to do some exploring and some playing around with this, but this is the sort of thing that could be very effective in an assignment. And you can see too that this lines up with ACL, the audit command language package. It lets you visualize what's going on from ACL much more easily. So the first thing we have to do is go get our PR gross to salary. So I'm just going to do that by zapping across into ACL. The first thing I need to do is join the EMP master file. So you will have possibly already done this, but I'm just repeating it for familiarity. Open the payroll file, which is here. And I'm going to join the EMP master file. So I go to data and join. And I pick my secondary table, which is going to be EMP mast. Pick my primary key. Now, if I had a nice, simple SQL language, I could just do this all just typing away because I know SQL, and this is not so easily keyboard driven. PR gross to salary. Oh, I got to put these in. That's why you practice these things. Now we'll put that in there. So I already have one sitting there, but I've redone it already. For the purpose of this exercise, we don't need all these fields, and this is probably one of the things that scratches us up badly when it comes to data privacy, is it's just easier to dump all this data out and work with it. What I'm going to do is export that to an Excel spreadsheet, call it PR_gross to salary, and I'm going to put it in my little directory here. It's called PR gross to salary. It's an Excel spreadsheet. I click OK. Try that again. Oh, ACL, you give me so much fun. Okay, so I've opened it up here. Here it is sitting here in my 209S1 folder. I now go to Power BI and I get my data. In fact, I've got an old one here, so what I'm going to do is just create a new project. So this should be old hat to most people. We are going to get our data. It's in Excel. I connect to Excel. So remember, this is all sitting here right in Excel. Here's our PR gross to salary. I open it up. Open up the worksheet. I load that. Connecting all this. This could be many, many, many rows of data. It's not though. It's not very much at all. And if I click on my data tab, here is my table. So I've taken it from ACL, brought it back into Power BI. Now we're asked to add a column to combine the employee's last name and their first name. So hopefully you see the logic here of what I'm doing. We have been building up to this sort of thing. So this should be kind of second nature for you by now if you've been following the worksheets and doing the videos. I add a new column. I just want to pick up their first name and last name because look, I've got last one here and I've got first one over there. And wouldn't it be just nice to have first name, sorry, I'll give it full name is the name of the column, equals last one. Okay, so I press enter on that just to tab it across. And the ampersand concatenates. I want a comma between first name and last name. And so it's going to be Carmen, sorry, it was going to be Bacardi Bolivar, comma, Carmen. And last one, press enter. And voila, there's our full name down there. Now, we want a column to calculate the difference between gross pay and pay per period, and we're going to call it difference. Now, this is where having all those extra fields is a bit of a pain. So there is something to be said for not having to do that. But here is gross pay. And that's been joined. So gross pay is the amount they were actually paid in the last pay period. And pay per period is how much they're supposed to be paid. Now, if I want to filter later on so that I can just see those ones that don't match, what I do is I can easily just add a column, new column. I'm going to call it difference. And I'm going to pick up that gross pay. There it is. And I'm going to subtract pay per period. Now, if they're the same, this number will be 0. If they're not the same, then it'll be a negative or it'll be a non-zero number, negative or positive number. Press enter. Now it's picked up my name over here, the name of my column. And because it's sorted on that, it's picked up the 2 entries here that we know are not the same. So that's okay, that's good. We've done section A. Now, we're going to create a clustered column chart that graphs gross pay and pay per period next to each other with employee name along the x-axis, pay amount on the y-axis. Sort the graph by surname, resize so you can see most of the employee's name. Some of those names are really long. Let's go back to the graph here, the graphical report area. Okay. I'm going to pick up a good old clustered column chart. I'm going to make it quite big because I know this is going to look pretty big. Let's pick up the employee name. So that's the full name that we just created. Put that on the x-axis. We want to graph their gross pay. Here's gross pay, so that's a value. We're going to pick up their, not net pay, their pay per period. And I need to sort it by surname. So I do the sorting by the ellipsis up here. Sort by full name. And that's the other way around, so let's sort ascending. So now we can see, because it's clustered column, here's the black and the green. I can go in and change all that in here, doing this sort of thing. Okay, so I'll leave it as, I'll put it back to a greeny color. Okay, not that that's particularly appealing. There's their names along the bottom. There's the amount they've been paid. The black is their pay per period, and the green is their gross pay. I can give it a nice title if I wanted. How would I do that? I would just title, give it a good title here. And off we go. When I look at that, we already know that there are some differences between these two amounts, and they stand out pretty clearly. Here's one, so it's going to be down to Breaknatch. I must have a problem with my data there today. This is what you get for doing things at this time of the morning. Might just go back and edit that column. Oh, whoops. Yep, fix that. There we go. That's more meaningful. Notice how that straight away updated. Deliberate thing for me to do there. So those ones there, so we got, now that's now saying, yeah, Poylan Breaknatch and Paul Kenwood. Okay, but we're going to go and have a look at that a bit later in terms of those differences. That's our graph. There's a challenge exercise to add a mean and a median. So over here in the little magnifying glass, we can do some little trendy things, like we can add a line for the median based on gross pay. So that's what the dash is there. And I could even do one on pay period. Let's see. Median line 1, median line 2. Yep, they're pretty much the same. You can't see the difference on here. Let's kill that one. Let's add an average line though, based on gross pay. And you can see that they're slightly different. And if I want to, I can change its color, make it a nice purple. And I can make that 100%, sorry, 0% transparent. So there's my line there. Perfect if you're doing presentations to show when things are within control or out of control. You can do this kind of thing. You can add the max. That's the min. Add a max. Okay, so it added a max up there. There's my min there. And if I wanted to, I could give it a different color. I can do all sorts of wonderful things in there. And I just wanted to show you that that was possible. That's our challenge exercise. Change your clustered column to a scatter chart. Well, we should know by now this is pretty straightforward. Make it current. And here's our scatter chart. Now, what do you notice happens here? See how this one here is kicked out and that one there is kicked out? They're going to be the ones that have a difference figure. Now, I could just do something like okay, there's my differences. So that's going to be one of my items here, and there's the other. So that's one these ones here are all the zeros. These are the ones where it varies from the line. If you had things above and below, that would look really nice because it would give you a nice scatter graph around everything. It would show you what's happening with your payroll. It's just an interesting thing. You can go through and you could play, you could do a tree map. You can see that Carmen immediately is the person who gets paid the most. I could, oh, that wasn't intentional. Remove that, make that active, change it to one of those. And you know, I can do things with sorting that are kind of fun, okay? So if I sort it by the difference, see here, these are the two that have a problem. That's a nice visualization, that one. That gives me a bit of an idea of what's going on. What is that? It's a ribbon chart. There you go. You learn something new every day. Now we're just going to create a new clustered column chart. We're going to create a new one. And we're just going to graph gross pay. So it's exactly the same as the previous one. Gross pay and pay per period. Employee name. So we're going to pick up the full name. There we are there. Let's sort it by full name and let's sort it by ascending. Okay, that's good. Let's make that a bit bigger. You'll see that as we do that, it changes it to the diagonal on the 45-degree labels. Use a visual level filter to display only those where there is a difference between the two figures. So I've really just recreated the graph we just had. We know that we're interested in the ones with differences. Down here, we have visual level filters. Let's pick up our difference figure, add that to our visual filters, and we're going to go to advanced filtering. Show items when the value is not 0. Apply filter. And they're the two that are different. Now you could do that with purchase orders that are different to what they were ordered for. You could do that for invoices. You could do that for purchase orders. You could do that for payments of any kind, bank transactions. Budget variance for those of you that are wanting to build a dashboard to show a company how it's going. This would let you focus in on those things that are different. And that's one of the powers of Power BI. We're going to leave that there. That's all we need to do to get those exercises working.